Good morning, everyone. Welcome again to an integration chat session. We've got a busy day today. What we're going to do today is I'm going to give over most of the session to Christopher Zinn. Chris, he's my counterpart in IBM doing the Data Power and API Connect. If you remember last week, we did an initial session on how to create an API proxy. And Chris has showed me that there's a lot more complex ways of creating APIs, and he will take us through a session on how to do that. And for next week, I've got two options at the moment. Mike, you'll be glad to hear that I've moved up maybe to do the IIBA's good practices. You know, what is a good practice in that environment, how to code, how to set up, those kind of things. Or we can do an OpenShift demo. I'm dependent a little bit on the Red Hat guys to do that. So if they can accommodate next week's slot, I would rather give that to them because they're not always available, and I'm a little bit more flexible. And then just to remind you of what we're busy doing here is I'm gonna show you. So what I've done is in App Connect, I've actually got an integration server running, integration REST demo. And yes, I can call it directly from here, but now I'm going to show, Chris is going to show us how to do this via an API Connect setup. Chris, over to you. You can start sharing your screen. Unmute yourself, please.
Okay, wonderful stuff. Just let me know once you can see my screen. And you should see immediately a YAML file open in front of you. Just let me know.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, wonderful. So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. As Francois mentioned, we're going to go through API Connect today. We've got a full API Connect 2018 setup, and I want to sort of walk you through the process of how we're going to create an API. So as Francois mentioned, he's already created a REST API running on App Connect, and he's passed over the YAML file that you see in front of you. So I'll bring that up purely because I want to have a quick look at this and showcase one important aspect. You can see over here, I've got a section around input data, and it specifically makes reference to field 1 and field 2. Keep that in mind for a second. I'm going to close this, and we're going to head over to our Postman. On Postman, when we import the YAML, you'll see it imports like this. We've got field 1, we've got field 2. However, Francois, for the sake of humoring me this morning, has made a small change on App Connect to actually not accept that YAML or that input format exactly as specified. He has added a requirement to have that contained within another object, right? So if I invoke Francois service directly in App Connect, you can clearly see once it responds that I get my output data. This is what we're hoping to achieve on API Connect side, but we're going to obviously add security to it. You can see there is no authentication or authorization being done at the moment. And from a header perspective, we're only passing through the fact that it's app JSON. We're going to add some security. We're going to do some transformation. We're going to expose that through API Connect. We're going to subscribe through the developer portal, and we're going to invoke this API. So let's jump straight into it. For those of you that have used API Connect before, you'll know that the most common use case is a pure proxy of existing backend APIs that are exposed and secured through API Connect. So what I've done, you'll see in front of you, I've logged onto my developer portal, and I've created a new app called Chit Chat app. At the moment, if I open this up, you'll notice that there are no invocations, it's brand new, and there are no existing subscriptions. So I'm going to head over to the API Connect manager at this point, and I'm going to import and create a new API. So I'm going to develop APIs and products. Let me make sure I am properly logged in. I did notice a little error there. There we go. Cool. I am definitely logged in. APIs and products, and I'm going to create a brand new API. Now this API, we're not going to create from scratch. We've already got an existing backend service. So I'm going to import an existing API. If I click on the next button, it's going to ask me for the original YAML file. There it is, as received and downloaded. It has been successfully validated, and we click next to begin the import process. Notice, however, I am not activating this API at this point in time because we want to add some security and, do some transformation first. We'll go edit the API, and we can start having a look at what we're going to call it, the version number we might like, the schemes that it's going to accept. Of course, I'm only going to accept HTTPS. purely because we want security first. So let's actually have TLS transaction capability immediately. I'm going to leave the host information immediately as it was received, the base path. I'm only going to accept application JSON, and I'm only going to produce application JSON. From a lifecycle perspective, I'm just going to leave it as realized. I could change this to something more appropriate if we weren't just creating it for the sake of demo, but realized is perfect for now. I'm going to ensure that it cause is enabled. All of these are default, by the way. I'm not changing many settings at this point in time. The one thing I do want to highlight, of course, is we are using the latest and greatest Data Power API gateway and not the version 5 compatible. They would run the same in this specific case because we're not doing any custom policies, but the API gateway is, of course, much faster. So I'm going to save my settings over there, and let's move straight on to security definitions. You'll notice that the first thing we have is a client ID header. Now, that client ID header is essentially what API Connect does from a portal to ensure the validity of the invoking application. You saw my chit-chat application created a minute ago, and I'm going to just ensure that this is of type client ID, and I have a header parameter that I'm expecting to receive. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add another one for the client secret. And I'm going to make that of type API. Consider this or liken this in your mind to a username password type scenario. The application itself that is consuming the API will actually have a username, the client's ID, and a secret, the actual secret we're creating now. Right, I'm going to put it in the XIBM client secret header, and that's great, but that's not enough, right? We want to actually have some real security to this. So let's implement OAuth 2.0. Right, and you can see I've actually got a nice little drop down there already waiting for me because I was playing with this earlier on. I have already created the native API Connect OAuth provider, which uses authentication or URL-based authentication, which goes to a backend service where I've got a user registry that I've created a username and password in already. For the sake of this demo, I'm not going to change any of that. I'm just going to use my existing Think admin user that I have created. From a scopes perspective, I'm making sure that I've got the calculator scope. The calculator scope is the scope that we're actually going to be running this calculator method in. And I have just added my OAuth. Let's go to our security definitions and add these options. OAuth, specifically on the calculator, the client secret, and the client header. Let's save that. Right, the next thing we need to edit is where are these APIs running? You saw me invoke it a minute ago through Postman, so let's go back there and let us just copy this endpoint. I'm going to need it in a second. We go back to API Connect, go to our properties. The target URL is where we're going. We know it's not example.com. I'm going to take that out and put the default in that we've received directly from Francois. Again, what we've got the ability to do here is add in separate endpoints for each of our catalogs. At this point in time, I only have a sandbox catalog for demo purposes. In your environments, you might have a development catalog or a production catalog, or even potentially a line of business type catalog where you might have common services that are exposed across a particular area of business and a different endpoint in another area of business. I'm going to save that. We've got the three different views that we can have a look at. So we've got the design view that we've been going through as we've been moving along. We've also got the source view, of course, which is a YAML-based view that you can actually have a look at. It defines basically the open API specification that we'll be using to expose this. What I want to showcase a little bit of right now is the difference again of, or rather keep in mind the difference that we had between what the YAML defines and what Francois service expects. So I'm going to move into the assemble view, which you should see on screen in front of you now. You'll notice it's only got an invoke. The invoke is basically the proxy method, if you will. It's the ability to invoke that backend service and get the response. Now, about 80% of API use cases are the traditional proxy type use case, where we would invoke a service or invoke API Connect, which invokes a backend service, which processes some capability and returns that back up the line to the consuming application. In this specific case, we're going to take this a step forward and introduce a mapping. So The input that we want to receive is the input as defined by our actual Open API spec YAML. It's of type application JSON, and it is the definition of the input data, right? We had a look at that. It's field 1 and field 2. Done. The output, however, is slightly different. The output looks similar, but is not the same. Again, it's application JSON, and we've got a few choices here of what we want to do. It's not one of these that's already defined, so I can go and choose a specific data type, but I'm going to create this natively from scratch. I can go type out the YAML if I'm smart enough, or the JSON schema, or I can just generate it the easy way from a sample JSON, and that's what I'm going to do because that is so much easier, right? Let's have a look at our sample body. There it is. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to my API Connect and paste it in. You'll notice the input data field with field 1 and field 2. I'm going to click on the generate button, which generates a nice YAML view for me. Notice again, if we have a look at this, that the input data is of type object and it has 2 properties. But the fact that it is an object is different from the original, right? So it showcases the difference here between the specification that Francois gave to me to expose and the specification that he's actually accepting. Let's click on the done button. Let's click on save. And we now have an API. I have not at this point activated the API. I could do so over here to test it, to see if it works, to actually, play around a little. For the sake of time, I'm going to jump straight back to develop, and I'm going to create a product. Now, those of you familiar with API Connect will know that APIs themselves are not auto-magically exposed. They're exposed through something referred to as a product. A product can have plans, can have rate limiting, and so on. I'm going to call this REST API demo. I now get to choose which APIs I want. I'm going to choose the integration REST demo that we've been working on. Click next. Let's have a default plan, but let's change the name. Let's call it the free plan. The free plan will allow 100 invocations per every 1 hour. Right. I'm going to accept that. And let's just have a quick look. Visibility, I only want consumers who are logged onto and signed in, or subscribed rather, registered and subscribed to my API Connect portal to view this. I don't want it to be a public API. And while I'm going through this process, we might as well publish the API directly. Click next, and off she goes. The API has at this point been published to the API Connect development portal and made available for consumption. At this point, I could test the endpoint directly or create subscriptions in the manager. However, let's switch over to the consumer view. So I'm moving back over to my development portal. Again, you'll notice we're in the ChitChat app. There are no subscriptions already created. Let's go and view what API products are available. So there we go. We can see I've got inventory APIs that were previously published, and we've got the REST API demo version 1 that we have just created. I'm going to open it up. I can have a look. There's information about the API itself as well as the free plan. For simplicity, I'm going to subscribe to this plan immediately, and I'm going to choose my integration ChitChat app as the subscriber. I'm going to confirm the free demo or the free plan that we've created. And now I have an active subscription. Let's go have a look at that API and understand what it actually is. Here's the API documentation itself, and we can start having a look. I can download my API specification over here. I can view the endpoints. I can start having a look at what the security requirements are, how I might actually invoke the OAuth service. I can go and discuss this API further in the forum. But for simplicity, I'm going to move straight to the calculate method that we're actually trying to invoke. Over here, if I scroll down, I can have a look again and see what this might need to look like. There's an example over here of the body, as well as a schema. And maybe I'm a particular type of developer, for example, a Python developer. I can actually view my source code or sample source code right here, and I can copy that into whatever IDE I might be using. A really neat feature is the try it button that's made available here. that allows us to actually invoke this API natively through API Connect development portal, so we can test it before moving over to our own IDEs. So the client ID that we're using is the ChitChat app. I'm going to quickly move over to some notes I made earlier. When I created my application, I was provided with a key and a secret. I'm going to copy the secret at this point in time. The secret is made available to you on the creation of an app. I'm going to paste it in over here. As mentioned, I'm going to use my Think admin username and of course, secure password. Choose the calculator scope and get our token. There's our token. It's been received. Of course, we can't see it right now, but we'll move down to the actual body section over here. Now, the body that we looked at earlier on that Francois is, of course, expecting is this body. But we all know that that's not what the API specification actually dictates. So over here, I've created a separate invocation of what I'd like this to look like. Again, 5 plus 8, we should get a result back of 13. Let's double check. Pasted it in, hit the send button. It's now making a request out to the service. And there we have it. Oh, issue with the output data. Interesting. Does anyone know what we did wrong? We added a mapping, but did we map it? No, we absolutely didn't. So let's go back to our REST API integration demo and go to our assemble. One of the advantages that this mapping node actually gives you is this ability to natively drag and drop our fields, right? It's not good enough to say that we're creating data objects. We've got actual drag and drop capabilities here. Let's save that and move back to our develop, where we can republish this API. The REST API demo is there, and let's publish it. Give it a second to publish. Great. The API demo has been published. Let's move back to our developer portal, back to our API products. Let's confirm that our subscription still exists, our ChitChat app. The API is theoretically brand new because it's been republished, and therefore no existing subscription. It's very important to remember when you're actually working with APIs in the real world, republishing an API the way that I just did actually publishes a brand new API. The right approach is to deprecate that version, release a new product, and migrate your subscriptions. Definitely something we can showcase in a future demo. So if you are interested in the user experience around how you would actually migrate and version APIs for more complex sort of processes, definitely something we can have a look at. Okay, so let's quickly again have a run of this API. We are choosing our ChitChat app with the client secret, our Think admin username, our password, generate a token. Are we having network issues again? Sorry, ladies and gents, this network issue is a little frustrating. Let's just confirm that our subscription exists. It's possible that that's where it went wrong. Oh, there it is. There's a subscription. The REST API demo. We are subscribed. Let's make sure we're subscribed. We are absolutely subscribed. It's confirmed. Subscription complete. It already exists, which is perfect. Finish. Go to the demo again and try it. We want to choose the ChitChat app, copy our secret, choose the calculator, generate our token. There it is. Perfect. And again, back to Postman to copy the body that we're looking for. Back to API Connect, paste it in, hit the invoke button. There you have it, the answer of 13. What I'm going to do, because it's not good enough that we invoke it through the API Connect tool itself only. The industry standard is, of course, Postman. So I'm going to move over to Postman. I'm going to go to my authorization, make sure that I'm using bearer authentication, paste in my token, make sure that my body is set correctly for the sake of ensuring it's new data. Let's change it to 10. Why are we not getting a response? Let's confirm if we're hitting the correct endpoint. There it is. Do we have the correct client ID in our headers? XIBM client ID. Yes, we do. Do we have the correct secret? Yes, we do. Okay, let's confirm. There you have it. Running again. For simplicity, what we could also do, as you guys saw, we could go directly to our own IDE and copy in code in whatever format we like. So a nice example here would be, let's just use curl. Curl is the sort of industry standard. It works on every single Unix box. If if it's not there, you can quickly install it as well. So I'm just going to copy this token we've got over here, and I'm going to move over to, just moving my WebEx out of the way, move over to curl over here, and I'm going to just be sure to paste in my token. Right, there we go. And let us run this command. Oh, it actually helps if I take out the previous command first. Paste. And we should get a result back of 13. There it is. It looks a little bit funny, so I'm just going to pop it out. There you go. Output data 13. So as you can see, guys, what we've done today is we've actually gone and proxied a REST API exposed on App Connect. We've built in some mappings for it to ensure that we've got some transformation taking place as well. We've published these APIs from the API Connect development portal. We've subscribed. We've created a subscription to the free plan. And then, of course, invoked it through the actual API Connect developer portal itself, as well as industry standards from a Postman and a curl perspective. So thank you very much for your time. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Hi, Chris. Hello, everyone. It's Mongezi here. Can you hear me?
Hey, Mongezi.
Good. Yeah, I saw it's, where do you define the certificates?
It's a brilliant question. The certificates are defined in the management portal itself. You can go in there and you can define which certificates you'd like to expose, which TLS profiles you'd like. And of course, that ultimately at the end of the day gets deployed onto the IBM Data Power Gateway that you've set up from a Connect perspective. So you can choose. I mean, you could expose public certificates for APIs that you're exposing to the public internet, properly signed by a trusted CA, for example, DigiCert or Let's Encrypt. And of course, for internal invocations, your own signed CAs, you can define those TLS profiles.
Okay.
Chris, thank you so much. Can you see my screen I've shared again with the MQ Explorer on there?
Yeah, we can.
Fantastic. So while Chris was doing that, behind the scenes, that application is actually sending messages to MQ as well. And he's actually sent 4 messages into MQ. I can browse those messages for you.
Guys, while we wait for Francois' screen over there, if you do want to reach out to me to have any further discussions, or would like a bit of a deeper dive into API Connect, Data Power, or the Cloud Pack for integration, please feel free. You can reach me directly through Francois. You've got his details. Or alternatively, I believe my details were shared at some point as well, but I'll pop them into the chat if anyone does want to reach out.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, please pop it in there. There you can see the messages. You remember that first one that came back with no answer in it? There it sits over here, and then the others as well. Did you send another one? Chris, I see this. Or somebody else has duplicated this.
Remember, I sent the two via curl.
Oh yes, you've sent some via curl as well. That's correct. Okay. If you guys want to do any suggestions on further API demos, please let us know. As you can see, we try to look into them. So we've done busy with the poll. Let's look at a little bit of news. So we all know it's very interesting going back to work. You know, if you're going to work on premise and all of the new rules and regulations that needs to be in place. Probably from my side, my significant other is a dentist. Gee, they've got a huge amount of work to do, and they really do look like aliens if they work these days, and they can do emergencies at least, but no other dental work. But the amount of protocols that needs to go into an environment to make sure it's safe is enormous. So one thing that IBM has done, we've actually published our Return to Workplace playbook. So if you're an organization and maybe you just want to check what is in there, and see, you know, maybe there's some ideas in there, or maybe you're an organization where, you know, there's not a lot of work being done in this area yet. So have a look at the workbook. I've read about 2 pages of it. It's very interesting. Some of it, you know, you really need the corporation's admin to get involved in that. One other thing that I've done recently is all of these demos. You know, sometimes we skip over certain steps in for time constraints and things like that. And I'm busy building out that set of demos with an exact click by click on how to set it up and how to make it work. So if you go to this link over here, you see it's the same link as where I publish all of these recordings, but this integration demo series at the end. I just want to show you how it looks like. If you go in your browser there, you will find there's a few links in. I've added 4 of the videos so far. The one is just a demo. I'm taking you through a mural chart to show what I'm going to do in the demos. I've done the creation of a bar file. I've done the deploy of the bar file in App Connect, and I've done the API proxy in that environment. If you click on any one of these links in there, it's going to tell you that you're going to leave box, and you say, yeah, that's okay. You continue, and hopefully it will take you to a demo. Oh, it says for whatever reason my video is not. Oh, I've removed that one. I've replaced it with a newer one. I haven't updated the link. So let me just show you one of the others. If I go into creation of bar file, continue leaving box, it'll take you to a demo that will play on exactly a step-by-step process on how to replicate the demos. All right, get back to my presentation. Also inside this presentation, if you can download it from that same box environment in there. I'm starting to add answers from the previous sessions we've done in there, so that we can see, you know, if there was any questions asked, etc. All right, we into the general section. If anybody has got anything to ask or to discuss, you're more than welcome to open your call now and see what we can discuss. If not, Chris, there's a little bit extra that you said that you can do for us. Is that still a valid option? Okay, thank you. Any questions, guys?
Yeah. So, hi, Chris. Thanks for the great presentation. This is Alan. So, I think recently APIC version 10 has become available. So, you know, what are the new features that are available there? You know, anything new that we should be looking out for?
Thank you. That was a brilliant question, and I tell you, I couldn't have timed it or planned it better at all. So API Connect version 10, unfortunately, is not available right now, but it's coming in 7 days' time. So on the 28th of May, it has been announced API Connect version 10, which is the replacement and upgrade of the previous versions. Of course, they're not announced as end of life at this point yet, so you can continue running where you are. But API Connect version 10 is coming, and it's got a bunch of new features. You know, one of the great...
Do you guys know how to count? There was version 5, version 2018, and now version 10.
So, Francois, it's a very good question. You know, we had API Connect version 5, and then we sat down and realized we had version 18, 2018, but Data Power was on version 7 before that. So we were deciding what is this, you know? So the short answer is, for long-term support editions of API Connect and Data Power, you will get a real version number, version 10. For continuous integration versions, which will come a lot more frequently, you'll get a year quarter version. So 2018.4.1.11, the current version as an example. So yes, we're learning very, very quickly how to count and the complexities of counting. So good one. But
So what is the new stuff?
the new exciting stuff, first of all, from a developer perspective, incredibly exciting, is directly in the actual tool. When you're building, we've now got a built-in debugger. So no longer do you have to publish an API and activate an API to test it. You can test it real time as you go. Now, if you're anything like me, who's grown up with API Connect, you've been building one component, deploying it, testing it, see if it works, and then this iterative process takes forever. On version 10, you can build out a full process flow, introduce breakpoints, test it as it goes. Amazing. Another thing that's coming that's new is a new test subsystem for automated testing. For too long, APIs have been singing the song about agility, but then testing has not been included by default. We've had API Connect Test and Monitor, of course, running on IBM Cloud, but this testing subsystem can run on-prem or in the cloud locally with scripted tests that you can actually have expected test cases with expected results and alerting if any test breaks. So you can include this in your API Connect, CI/CD pipeline. The next thing as well is on the developer portal, we've now got true CI/CD capability through a command line interface, so you can script deployments. For too long, it's been a case of the organization changes its branding and API Connect stays behind. You can now have your CI/CD pipeline include those changes. So when you put up your coronavirus banner in compliance with South African law, you can put that same banner on API Connect at the same time with no effort. That's just a quick taste. There's a lot of additional features. One of those, I can't believe I just forgot, GraphQL. GraphQL has come to API Connect, which now means that we can actually expose GraphQL endpoints securely. And not only expose them securely, if you bring in a GraphQL endpoint, and I mean, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, GraphQL is the SQL, if you will, for APIs. It allows searching of massive amounts of data and giving you only the information that you need from an API. So GraphQL now actually on API Connect gives you some of that ability to secure those endpoints. Historically, you'd expose that to your expose your backend through GraphQL, and the risk was just immense. So, I mean, that's a small taste. There's a lot of amazing features. If you are interested in finding out more, pop me a message. My email is in the chat, and reach out. What I am going to be doing as well, guys, in one of our sorry, Francois, this is a bit of a quick self-punt, but on Tuesdays we run a Cloud Packs in Real Life demo series as well. It runs from 10 till 10:30. There is a link in the chat. When it is released, I will be doing one of the first demos of API Connect v10, and we'll be going through a bit of a series of what this looks like, specifically focusing on the new capabilities. So if you guys are interested, the link is again in the chat. Hop in, join in, and reach out. If you're wondering, you can hear I'm quite passionate about this, right? It's an amazing product. We've come so far.
I will then stop the recording now, and thank you for attending again, guys. See you next week. I'll send out the invites. Chris, thanks. That was definitely one of our best sessions ever. That was really interesting. I'm gonna work that. The video and make sure we get everything in there, so that we can publish it as soon as possible.
Thanks everyone. Again, reach out. Enjoy. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.